Hi, I'm Sherry Hilton, your Alberta Party candidate for the Peace River riding. Ever since the Progressive Conservatives introduced their budget in the legislature, the education system has been troubled with how are they going to approach the coming year and years with the budget shortfalls. Many teachers worry about the classroom sizes getting bigger and bigger. Parents are worried about the type of education their children are going to receive. Many departments have had their fundings cut, and the list goes on. Teachers are rallying all over the province to stand up for their students. And one example of that is a defiant move to maintain funding growth for students with the Calgary Board of Education, when they voted unanimously to pull up to $18 million out of the reserves to make up for provincial funding shortfalls. Administrators warned in a special report to trustees of a new provincial directive which stated, beginning with this budget and by government direction, the Calgary Board of Education must present a balanced budget without the use of operating reserves. The CBE's own legal team warned that the move may be considered defiant and that the ramifications may have to be explored further. But the trustees, enraged that this province's tough budget introduced last month will mean the district faces a $20 million shortfall, so they have no choice but to at least provide funding for each one of the new 2,500 students expected to enter the public school system. And I applaud them. Following the Calgary Board of Education's decision, 19 public school boards, including Edmonton Public Schools, Edmonton Catholic Schools, the Calgary Board of Education, and the Calgary Catholic School District, issued a powerful statement about how Education Minister Gordon Dirks' cuts to education are going to impact your children. According to provincial projections, there will be 12,000 additional students in Alberta next year, and approximately 36,000 over the next 3 years. According to the provincial fiscal plan, the growth in student population is not and will not be funded. By not funding growth, we are effectively reducing the per pupil funding for every student while increasing class sizes. What's happened is that the PCs are not providing one additional dollar for the 36,000 students that will enter into the school system over the next 3 years. The school trustees, who have been slashing non-frontline expenses for years, have reached their limit. This is what they had to say. Growing districts will be forced to make reductions to support services to schools while ultimately increasing teacher workload, and at the same time, reducing the support for some of our most vulnerable students. These students will be further disadvantaged by increasing class sizes. Most school boards have been responsible stewards of your tax dollars and have built up reserves over the last few years in case of unexpected budget shortfalls. When the school boards announced that they intended to draw from their reserves to help minimize the impact of the PC cuts, Dirks wrote to them and said, no. He said, therefore, no expenditures, even those already planned, are to be funded through your surplus without prior ministerial approval. While Monday's outcry prompted Education Minister Gordon Dirks to reverse his previous remarks that school boards could only tap into their reserve funds with his permission. Close to home, right here in the riding of Peace River, on April 22nd, the Peace River School Division released a statement on their budget decisions for the coming year. The Board of Trustees voted unanimously to direct management to prepare the 2015 and 16 budget utilizing divisional reserves to cover shortfalls in funding to maintain services, programming, and supports for students. I'd like to quote directly from the press release. In order to continue to support our students, as guided by the goals and initiatives in our 3-year education plan and the board's guiding principles for decision-making, we will ensure resources are maximized to support student learning, which means utilizing our reserves to maintain programming, services, and support. The press release goes on to say that based on the provincial budget tabled on March 26, 2015, Peace River School Division will experience a $580,000 decrease in funding in the areas of inclusive education, transportation, non-classroom teaching costs, and various grant funding. In addition, the government restricted school divisions from deficit budgeting as well as using divisional reserves. The government also announced that student enrollment funding will be frozen for the next 3 years, which means that no funding will be provided for new students. Student enrollment funding will be based on February 2015 enrollment counts or the 2015-16 actual enrollment, whichever number is lower. The Alberta Party has a better way. We would build schools, protect our teachers, and reduce class sizes. The Alberta Party would reverse the PC's cuts to education and guarantee per student funding to match population growth and inflation. We would invest in new schools to keep pace with Alberta's population growth, and we would phase out school fees. We would also reduce taxpayer subsidies to private schools that do not serve the public interest and reinvest that money back into the public school system. The Alberta Party has a better way. We're a new energy, and on May 5th, vote Sherry Hilton, your Alberta Party candidate.